I've been attending SQA conferences for some time already, and today's presentation is a last time replacement. But aside from the IT enterprise development, simultaneously I am doing consulting on management, on soft skills. I'm promoting IT practices from beyond the boundaries of IT and other way around. So my skill is business analytics, the ability to speak different languages, which is quite helpful now. And today's presentation is going to be about self-determination, which is equally relevant for IT and the world over. And in other sectors is becoming a new trend. When they said that HR specialists were, sniffing at it, thinking it's nobody's business, but now they're quite serious about it. So in terms of self-determination, we need to use a metaphor. When you're riding a boat, you can sail wherever the current takes you, but other ways you can think about where you want to go and use a paddle to take you there, or not to paddle if it's taking you in the right direction, or instead build an add-on to your rafter or the boat. Within this metaphor, you are determining yourself not only when you select a job or direction of your involvement in your project, but almost daily when you decide whether to accept this behavior from the customer as a self-rectifiable bug, or to say that it's going to be an additional effort that it will cost them more. And there are many situations like that when you have to make additional decisions. How to behave under the circumstances is up to you to decide, but the experience shows that if you are not determining yourself, somebody else makes a decision for you. And even out of the best intentions, they often do it wrong. And the history of teenager education, when parents select their universities and future paths for them, are well known. When wrong decisions are made, when people in the best of intentions make decisions on behalf of another person. And the events of this spring has clearly demonstrated a big connection between the professional self-determination with geopolitics. And here the need is to think about it technologically. Although the presentation itself was equally relevant even before this infamous events of the spring. Let's start with the image of the future. It's more about a large-scale self-determination case than about the adoption of a new bug feature or improvement, but some of the schemes are equally applicable for that as well. And the schemes often go beyond the boundaries of self-determination by infringing on many other neighboring subjects, understanding, goal setting, own growth, and so on. Without them, self-determination cannot solve all the problems. That's why I'm going to speak fast and about everything. But on the upside, during today's party, you can approach me and try to torture me with all sorts of questions and discuss different cases and schemes, because I'm talking about something I know of, because I practiced them during different discussions about self-determination. So what is important here? When you're thinking about the future, you don't need to imagine it as a piping dream. It's important to see in that future yourself as an actor, as a person doing something, when you're acting and doing something. So if you are dreaming about a position of a project manager, not that you shouldn't think that I made it in life or something, that I'm doing something as a project manager or I'm running a new project or something. This is quite an easy scheme. I first heard about it from Boris Ostrovsky, who is the representative of S&D methodology. It's a separate, large strain of thought. Those of you who have heard about this, I just mention it to give you some reference to it. He has organized a 2-day training about this, where he's teaching goal setting and the fact that whenever somebody thinks of a project, they need to think that they will have to implement and release this project instead of just generate a general idea. Because many people never think about it. They draw up an interesting project idea and they are happy with that. Now, as an example, what does it mean to imagine yourself in action? For instance, you can install auto tests, which in turn consist of many activities. One, you don't need to try to randomly click buttons, but bulbs go up in continuous integration when you answer questions. Who is writing pyramids? Developers or testers, even if you're using manual testing, they cannot do it right away, and so on. Who is going to do the framework? How analytics is going to be integrated, because test cases should be different in the first place. And what is your role here if you want to initiate it and participate there, or you are invited to do something, and what is going to be done by others, and who are those others and what qualification they have, and whether you have such qualified people in your team or you need to outsource them. This is what you need to think about when you think about a future in action. The same would be the project manager. You can manage a project differently. You can just distribute orders and draw plans and start a list of tasks in Jira, hoping that they will implement themselves, because people are initiative driven. They will do it out of their own accord, and you will just exercise general control. But you can hope that the list of tasks and control will be done by the team itself, because it has some analytics in its midst, and you will just assist. And that would be different teams, different projects, and this is what you need to make a note of. Additionally, as far as others are concerned, if they have juniors, you have to teach them. Is it going to be you or somebody else? You need to think about this interaction in action, in all dimensions. This is just an example. You need to put it down for any activity. If you have not done it before, but you have seen others do it, you have read articles, you have attended conferences. In fact, the first stage here would be to write down a list of questions, and then, based on this list, you can write up the answers that you like and get the project that you would like to be part of, or want to run or manage or establish auto tests, something else. Same thing would be true about a family, because any family is not made up of moments of happiness. It consists of routine when you come back home for dinner or lunch instead of going to the bar, or not, or going together with your wife to a restaurant, or together to vacation, or separately. It's very useful and advisable to imagine it, and then compare it with other person who you're creating the family with, what they dreamed up. Because if your dreams are different, then, and that very much different, then it's better to discuss it and understand it in advance. Maybe your differences are not a matter of principle, but when you cooperate with a team, it's also similar, because if you, as a project manager, imagine that you want to develop an architecture, and the senior who you know well, who is going to develop the code, also is dreaming about architecture. The question is, who is going to end up designing the architecture should be discussed in the very beginning, and how you're going to split the task. At the same time, you need to realize, and it's the tricky part here, that there is a real-life metaphor where you're playing a role that you have selected for yourself. like the role of a project manager. In fact, there are two plays going on at the same play here, because each one of you have in their heads internal stage where you're performing the same role. You're thinking about a future discussions or a future success, or other way around. After the discussion, you play it back and think what went wrong, what went right. And based on this, and actually the principal actions are happening there. All your permutations and motions are happening there, sometimes on the parallel with that, sometimes earlier or later. And it has its own props there and obstacles. And some of them are imaginable because it's a virtual stage. And you have acquired them from culture that that's not how people should behave. And you do not behave like that. Sometimes, also in real life, you can expect some comeuppance for that or consequences. Sometimes not. Another tricky part is that another person has his own internal stage, which is not visible to you. And maybe the whole play is played out differently there, and the interactions might be different. Because that other person thinks that he is protecting the interests of the team and is arguing with the bosses. Other members of the team can think that the same person is agreeing with them and is letting them down or bringing additional headaches to them, or other way around, because a person might think that he is, say, bending over backwards before the bosses. Otherwise, he would have quit a long time ago, but they see that he doesn't bend over backwards, but instead is running the project. You need to understand that. Another thing to understand right here is that who is playing what role here. For instance, what am I playing here? In fact, there are psychological theories, like a theory of Richard Schwartz, internal family system, and there are a number of other psychological theories which say that within ourselves we have a number of sub-personalities, and these sub-personalities, in fact, affect and use criticism against ourselves, and they play roles, and in fact, it happens from a very young age, from our childhood. When a kid knows very well that at home, or in the sandbox, or in the kindergarten, these are all different contexts, and they behave differently in different environments. And when they're visiting their grandmother, they again play differently. And these abilities are typical of all persons, including ourselves, and these sub-personalities sometimes are in conflict with each other. In one set of situations, you cannot tell lies, for instance, when you're talking to friends, but when you're playing a game. But in other situations, you can tell lies, for instance, when your mother asks you why you didn't do your home assignment. And it develops different personalities within you, and those psychological theories are saying, looking at this as a really existing sub-personalities. And seemingly it works at neuropsychology as well. There's a different neurons responsible for these sub-personalities. And there might be, it can give rise to internal conflicts as a result. Why did I show this schematic here? Because about a year ago at Analysis Days, I looked at the problems of one person in terms of self-determination. It turned out, although this person was a successful IT person, I've known this person for a long time. She has an internal voice telling her that she should drop this IT project, but instead help people in hospitals, for instance, and do a different social life. So this is an actor, sub-personality of a person who didn't get any role. That's why it downgraded the importance of whatever other sub-personalities did. If you speak about it with this in this terminology, it's clear what needs to be done. Like any director is discussing the roles with a crew, with a cast of people, or project manager talking to his team when different people want to do different things. Not always there is a possibility to do that. So you can work with that, and it is relatively efficient. Now I'm going to speak about a number of parts. We're going to go quick through them and see how it's happening here in different aspects of those previous schematics. The first part, as long as you are determining yourself and other people are determining themselves, you need to understand what is played out on the internal stage. Of course, you can use regular words here, but the difficulty is that the words, same words, can mean totally different things. For instance, a project success, there is a spectrum of things. Whatever is success for one person, that you finally have rolled out a project and you got paid for that, it might be considered as lack of success by others who maybe get paid but they wasted money eventually, and for others they are not happy because they understand it was a no good project if you look at it attentively. Although it was accepted, they're not happy with the end results. What to do about that? The good thing is that there are typologies that demonstrate a spectrum of differences, where a person can imagine this and think what they're doing, because everything should be done fast enough. Instead of talking to different people, you don't have time to discuss all these things with each and every single team member. For that, we have a spiral dynamics of the system, which tells you that there are 8 frames of values, different options, where all these notions are enmeshed with each other. We can speak for a long time about this. I have separate dedicated reports about that. The details of self-determination can be considered there. We look at such notions as responsibility, success, justice. It's all different. Why? Where do they come up with that? All these notions can also be different in different people's minds. There is a statement that claims that this is the level of social development typical for different cultures. Importantly enough, there is a changeover of the junior levels, which were formed based on the agricultural society, then industrial world, and now we have a new digital world. The elder levels are formed like this. That's what gives the additional value to the spiral dynamics, which are based on the material of the industrial society, which shows what is important. But such things also exist. We can select others, of course. Importantly enough, it is scalable both for a person and the organization, the culture of organization, and so on. There is another typology, personal typology. Disk Myers-Briggs, for instance. I like the Myers-Briggs because it's easy, and there are good books about this. But the psychological things and Briggs, you need to have special education for that. It's important to get a real possibility to understand it. I have a separate presentation about other guys who describe the generalized roles in a team, identified purely empirically. You need to occupy your own roles, 1, 2, 3, and roles are attached to different types of actions, different behavior, different thinking, different values. It's developed based on the material of a team of managers, but it has been customized by Americans. I have reference in my presentation. This is about understanding, it's about communication. It's not only about self-determination, but about other things.
Next part is about the image of the future. It should be inspiring and well thought. There are no methodologies of building such an image, but there's a methodology of checking this. It's a checklist of 4 items. You need to be useful in this future. This is the check of the lifestyle that you have. If you don't pass this check, then you need to improve. Later on, the value is important, as I meant, the usefulness, but it should be based on the hierarchy. I contribute to the team contributes to the company contributes to the country or the world, the country contributes to the mankind, etc. If I speak at the SKA days, if I speak at the community of testers, I also make a contribution, and we need to see this contribution. So the problem of this spring is that the picture about country and mankind and the world was separate from the picture of professional activities. There was a gap there, and there was the future image. It's your own one. Well, you cannot influence the future of the mankind, but it doesn't mean that you should not be critical about what is happening. What is happening now falls under the spectrum of scenarios that are predetermined and well known, because there are different stakeholders behind those scenarios. It's all the same when we submit large projects in a large corporation. There are a lot of guys who accept your project. They compete with each other, etc. Another important item is about goal, strategy and initiative. So the goal is somewhere behind the mountains. We are here and we think of how we go to the seaside. Strategy is choosing the way. Either the first one, the second one, for example. We don't know what is behind the summit, behind the mountain. And then initiatives. Initiatives mean what pathway we take. This is about goal setting. What do we do with the image of the future? There are a lot of books saying that you need to prepare a plan and follow this plan. I have an alternative. So there are images all across, and you're looking for some convenient stuff, like projects. So there are different approaches to the image of the future. Next phase, a person for the company or the company for you. It's a private case of dichotomy, me, we. There are different solutions and different levels of spiral dynamics, and different people have different solutions or answers to this question, and they might work nearby. People and material for the company. It's quite a clear scheme. It complies with industrial level, industrial society. Then another level, when people are not a material. Next phase, green one, crosses out the scheme being anti-humane. So it's just crossed out, but managers remember about that. And since the scheme was efficient, these relations should be equal. What does it mean? What do we add? We put one more pillar where company is a material for your professional growth, or when a company is a good source for you to earn money, if this is your person. purpose. And once you have this, you can think about this and agree on something. And you know, this scheme works in real life. The tougher company relates to the employees, the more cynical employees are and are utilizing company for their own interests. This is what life shows. Parity scheme, what does it mean? There are two images, yourself and the company image. Some people know about image of a company in 5-10 years. The companies are competing for you, not you are competing for a company. You understand the value that you give, you understand the value that you get and provide to the company, and there's a balance, there's a parity. So this presentation is posted on my website, so you can check it later. Next step, activity gives you some energy and drive. Well, everything started with industrial society, when there were a lot of workers and they were no longer hungry. It appeared that both hands, they need a head. This phrase, they say that this phrase was said by Henry Ford, but I didn't find any proof. Abraham Maslow in 1940 created the pyramid of needs. It's good as a first approximation, but only as a first approximation. In 1960s, McGregor revealed two types of people, X, performers, and Y, entrepreneurs. Don't mix up with the generations. It's a different theory, a theory of 1990s. What is good for ones kills others. Regular work kills entrepreneurs, for example. And requirements and initiative kills those who are accustomed just to implement tasks. There were different motivation schemes. Reinhard Sprenger wrote a nice book in 1991 where he showed that all the popular motivation schemes lead to a long-time degradation of the company. You might find this book and read electronically. It's not available in a paper format because the circulation was only 5,000 books. Mihai Csikszentmihalyi thought about what is effective work, and he invented the condition of a flow. When you do things, you run errands, and the company should not prevent people from getting into this state of flow. In Agile, it is implemented a bit, synchronization, short meetings, etc. And the idea of non-interruption of your employees. How do you manage drive? You need to think about that, you need to consider the ratio of driving and idling, so you need to understand when you are more energetic in the morning or not. But then you shouldn't read news or mail. But there's a temptation when you prepare breakfast, for example, because your brain switches to different tasks, and you need to use models in order to compare with the activities. You check the activities, whether it's your or not your activity that you like or you dislike. And we need to understand that people are different, and recommendations should be tailor-made. Some people for rest require walking, others need talking. There are certain difficulties when you do anything new. You need update on what you have done and manage your avatars that are criticizing you, diminishing your value, or driving your dissatisfaction. So authorization of the results. This is the self-esteem. It allows to do a good self-assessment. I don't know why they teach this at schools, because students with normal self-esteem start asking tricky questions from teachers why they need this. This work started long ago. And the industrial society doesn't need independent people. It needs just performers, good performers. The first one is quite obvious, what you did and what is the result. The last thing is very important, the narrative. How can I tell others about this? And there are certain cycles, agitated, etc. There is the same thing about negative results. Let it go. There's an approach, let it go. Neurophysiology of happiness by Helen Fisher. There are 4 types of happiness: dopamine, testosterone, serotonin. Dopamine is search and exploration, testosterone wins and achieving your goals, serotonin is regular daily activity. Well, if you found something under dopamine, if you explored and you found something that you were looking for, then serotonin is, of course, generated. And oxytocin and estrogen is empathy and relations. So these mechanisms are the same for all people, but the neuron connections are different, and it changes with age. And all these mechanisms relate to finding a partner, giving birth to children, bringing children up, etc. You need to know what is your state. There are different tests that allow you to understand what is your happiness, and do you have this happiness in your work, and do you need to change the work or something you do to be happy. Sometimes you need to add or to reduce activities that you do. So some routine activities might be given to those who like serotonin, you know, and you leave only dopamine part for yourself. Well, this is one more approach. And the last part of my presentation, you can find it in my previous versions of the presentation. It is more detailed there. I spoke about this in a number of conferences. It's about creation of an avatar. How do you approach happiness? Many recommendations say, please describe the current situation and then start working from this current point, from the current situation. I didn't have any information about the current situation, who you are now, as is state. Why so? Because if you don't know the future, you cannot make a focus in the current situation. So you can see the photos before reconstruction and after the refurbishment and reconstruction. So self-identification. It's me, I want to do some activity. Then you build a profile. For this activity, you need this or that competencies. This is your profile. for example, project manager, and you are based on what is important in the project, what is important in auto testing. And vectors might be different depending on the profile. There are no any standard solutions. So in the SWE framework, there are 200 competencies. But all the development is concentrated in one competence. So they're quite useless for the daily life. So then you build your current profile. If you're a developer and you become a manager, then ability to write the code, it's overqualification. If you're head of a group of testing, if you can do manual testing, it's again overqualification. You don't need this anymore. And you need to understand what is your avatar, what your avatar will learn to do, what your avatar will do or will not do. You become a head of the testing group, and another avatar will be the manager, and your testing avatar will serve as a backup. And he will be suffering because the whole day you are talking and talking. You didn't do anything manually. And then the avatar will take the position, change the activity, and you will change as well. That's all. My time is up, but I will talk for a couple of minutes more. This is my experience when I was an architect and a business analyst in one of the projects. Manager also wanted to do architecture things. I was in opposition to him. We negotiated with him, but the architecture was better compared to the situation when one of us was doing. So these are the schemes, my avatar questions. So self-identification, it's looking for the sense of life, and it's better to look it on your own rather than others. Find a sense of life for you. And if you're a performer, again, it's self-identification. And the checklist of constructive self-identification. That's all from my side. We have some room for questions. Thank you for the presentation. But people are nodding. But what do you do with the testing avatar sitting on the bench, on the south bench, and doesn't do anything on his own manually? Yeah, but at least you need to know about this avatar. There might be different options. First of all, you agree with this avatar that this is temporarily. Well, sometimes I take up project management for a month, for 2 or 3. It's not my favorite stuff, but it's fine if it's temporal. Then you might say that part of testing, you identify what part of testing you will do yourself. You put your slot there. And when you become a manager, you inform everyone that you will do this. Because others will say, no, you shouldn't do this. But you will say, no, I insist. 1 day a week, I'm not a manager, I'm a tester. And that's it, and I'm testing. Third option is a combination of different projects, when you do different projects at a time. Oh, so you need to decide. Because all solutions are temporal. You say 3 months, half a year, and then you say, okay, after this time I will self-identify later on. Not necessarily, it might be some strict time, it might be some milestones in the project.